This is the case of David McGreavy, a name synonymous with unimaginable horror in British criminal history. He became known as the Worcester Monster, following acts of extreme depravity. His crime stands as a chilling testament to the darkest capabilities of human nature. It is a case that continues to disturb and provoke deep analysis decades later. The events unfolded on a single, horrific night in 1973, a night that shattered the peace of a quiet English city. The victims were 3 young children from the same family, the Ralphs. Their innocence was brutally extinguished. 9-month-old Samantha was the youngest, her life barely begun. 2-year-old Dawn was next, a toddler full of potential. 4-year-old Paul was the eldest, a young boy with a future ahead of him. David McGreavy was not a stranger to the family. He was a friend, someone they trusted implicitly. He was staying with them, acting as a lodger, and often helping with childcare. This position of trust made the subsequent betrayal all the more profound. McGreavy was born on September 24, 1951, in Southport, Lancashire. His early life involved frequent moves. His father served in the military, necessitating the family relocating multiple times. This transient upbringing may have contributed to instability. He developed a friendship with Clive Ralph, the father of the children he would later murder. This connection brought him into the family's home. McGreavy left school in 1967. Shortly after, he enlisted in the Royal Navy. His naval career was brief and troubled. He was discharged in August 1971. The discharge followed a court-martial. The charge was arson, indicating prior destructive tendencies. Upon returning home, McGreavy struggled to find stable work. He also developed significant problems with alcohol. His parents eventually asked him to leave their home due to his issues. This left him without a place to stay. In 1972, Clive Ralph offered him accommodation. McGreavy moved in with the Ralph family, becoming part of their household. To the outside world, and initially to the Ralphs, he seemed a pleasant man. He was perceived by some as a wonderful man. He even appeared to be a second father figure to the children. This perception masked a dangerous reality. However, his struggles with alcohol were known. He also had a history of prior arrests for public drunkenness. These were warning signs that went unheeded or were perhaps underestimated. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The horrific events occurred on Friday, April 13, 1973, a date now etched in infamy. David McGreavy was babysitting the 3 children that evening. Their parents, Clive and Elsie Ralph, were out for the night. McGreavy had spent the afternoon consuming a significant amount of alcohol. Reports indicate he drank between 5 and 7 pints of beer. The trigger for the ensuing violence was attributed to the sound of the baby crying. McGreavy later claimed the noise provoked him. He reportedly muttered, "Damn children," before initiating the attacks. This suggests a sudden violent frustration. The sequence of murders began with the youngest child. 9-month-old Samantha was strangled. He did not stop there. He also beat Samantha on the head, causing a fractured skull. 2-year-old Dawn was the next victim. Her throat was slit. Finally, 4-year-old Paul was attacked. He was strangled with a wire. Following the murders, McGreavy moved the bodies to the basement. There, he further mutilated them using a pickaxe. He then dragged the children's bodies outside the house. This left a trail of blood leading from the property. In a final, grotesque act, he impaled the children's bodies. He placed them on a neighbor's wrought iron fence. A neighbor heard piercing screams emanating from the Ralph house. This prompted them to call the police. A police patrol car arrived at the scene shortly after. They found the front door of the house open. Following the trail of blood, they made the horrifying discovery. The scene was one of indescribable horror. The sight of the children's bodies impaled on the fence was profoundly shocking. It was a scene that would traumatize the responding officers. Clive Ralph was informed of the tragedy. His reaction reflected utter disbelief and devastation. He reportedly stated, "I can't recognize the man. He was so good with the children." This highlights the depth of his shock and betrayal. Police immediately launched a search for McGreavy. they located and arrested him around 4 a.m. the following morning. Upon arrest, McGreavy's initial reaction was chillingly ambiguous. He reportedly said, "It was me, but it wasn't me." This statement hinted at possible dissociation or intoxication. However, his subsequent actions provided clarity. At police headquarters, McGreavy confessed to the murders. He recounted the events in minute detail. He reiterated his stated motive for the killings. He claimed the baby's incessant crying had driven him to violence. The legal process began quickly following his confession. The trial commenced without delay. David McGreavy entered a plea of guilty to the charges. He admitted responsibility for the 3 murders. The hearing was remarkably swift. It lasted only 8 minutes from start to finish. There was no statement of defense presented. McGreavy did not claim diminished responsibility or offer mitigating circumstances. He was sentenced to life in prison. This was the mandatory sentence for murder in Britain at the time. A minimum term was set for his sentence. He was ordered to serve a minimum of 20 years before being considered for parole. The severity of the sentence reflected the nature of the crime. The court acknowledged the unspeakable acts of brutality he had committed. McGreavy remained incarcerated for many decades. He spent a total of 45 years behind bars. His crime made him a target within the prison system. He faced threats and abuse from other inmates. Due to the nature of his offenses, he remained under special protection. This was necessary for his safety within prison. In 2009, an anonymity order was granted. This allowed him to be referred to using only the initial M. The purpose of this order was to safeguard his safety upon potential release. It aimed to prevent public identification. However, this anonymity order was challenged. It was eventually overturned by the Supreme Court in 2013. The court ruled in favor of the public's right to know. The identity of such a notorious criminal was deemed a matter of public interest. Clive Ralph reacted strongly to the initial anonymity order. He felt it was unjust. He stated, "People need to know who he is. He shouldn't be allowed to disappear." His words reflected the family's desire for accountability and public awareness. After 45 years of imprisonment, McGreavy became eligible for parole. The parole board reviewed his case. In December 2018, the parole board authorized his release. The decision was met with significant controversy. His release from prison took effect on June 11, 2019. He was free after serving his lengthy sentence. The parole board cited considerable change in McGreavy. They determined he no longer posed a significant risk to society. This decision sparked widespread outrage across Britain. It renewed the pain for the victim's parents and family. The release was described as a devastating blow to the Ralph family. It forced them to confront the reality of his freedom. Elsie Ralph, the children's mother, expressed her enduring grief and anger. Her words conveyed the depth of her suffering. She stated, "I lost my children. I won't find peace until he's dead." This powerful statement underscored the permanent impact of his actions. The crime committed by David McGreavy sent shockwaves throughout Britain. It horrified a nation unaccustomed to such extreme brutality. The gruesome details and the senselessness of the killings were incomprehensible to the public. It defied rational explanation. The case of the Worcester Monster serves as a stark reminder. It highlights the capacity for evil that can reside within individuals. It also underscores the enduring impact of such horrific acts. The trauma inflicted upon victims' families and the wider community persists for generations.